Hey, this is a video for 8.3, Endocrine Disruptors and Heavy Metals. So go ahead and check out the overview and set up your guided notes. So the endocrine system is the system that deals with hormones. And hormones are chemical messages that are found in the body that are specialized proteins. And they are delivered between different body systems sometimes, and also different cells. So this is one way of cells that allows cells to communicate. And the hormone must fit into the receptor, which is another specialized protein on the surface of a target cell. Once the hormone fits into the receptor, the message is received, and the cell can carry out the action that is required. Now, endocrine disruptors can basically get in and block this hormone from being received. Once this hormone is not able to be received, there can be no communication between these body systems or between these cells. So, endocrine disruptors, they can be from atrazine, like herbicides. They can be from pesticides, like DDT. They can come from manufacturing, like phthalates are from the manufacturing of plastics. And also they can come from heavy metals. These can be natural or man-made or anthropogenic. And we have lead, arsenic, mercury, nickel, cadmium. There's a few heavy metals. These will block the chemical messages. And that can lead to the feminization of males, whether it is reduced sperm production or even ovary development in males. But it can also lead to developmental disorders, like birth defects. So we have some heavy metals. We have arsenic, we have mercury, we have lead, we have cadmium, other ones, copper. And we're going to focus right now on arsenic. Arsenic naturally occurs in rock. And it can also have some anthropogenic sources like mining. So when we are mining for other minerals or other substances, we can release this arsenic into the ecosystem. And it can also come from the treatment of wood. It can lead to cancer, and it is an endocrine disruptor. It impacts glucose metabolism. I am not an expert in this, but another hormone that we use is insulin, and insulin allows glucose to be taken in. But it will impact the metabolism of this glucose. It can be removed by water filters. So you'll have to check your water filter at home if you do have one. But arsenic is typically, it's going to be found in many areas, and there are lawsuits that can arise if arsenic does end up in our drinking water. I think we're safe in New York City. We have among the cleanest water in the entire nation, especially for major metropolitan areas. Another one is mercury. We've talked about mercury in the past. Mercury comes from coal combustion. It comes from trash incineration. We'll talk about trash incineration later on in this unit. It is attached to the particulate matter in the exhaust, especially in the coal exhaust. It is converted into methylmercury, and this occurs when it hits the water. There's chemical reactions that we don't really have to know, but methyl is CH3, so you're adding a carbon with 3 hydrogens. You're adding it to the mercury. And it is a teratogen, which means it can harm the developing fetus. This is one reason why pregnant women are advised against eating foods like tuna, because tuna is a large fish. Tuna can accumulate a lot of mercury in its tissues. It does cause damage to the central nervous system. We talked about this in the previous unit. There can be neurological damage. It is also an endocrine disruptor with estrogen and insulin. Another one is lead. Lead we talked about. It can be found in paint, pipes, and in fuel exhaust. It is a neurotoxin. It is also a endocrine disruptor. Remember, children that eat or that are exposed to lead paint or, lead in their body systems can have severe developmental delays. One particular event that occurred in the 1970s was in the Love Canal, which was a very highly polluted area. And it was up near Buffalo, up near the Great Lakes. I think Lake Erie, the location's not as important. But there was a lot of toxic waste that was released. And then they wanted to build residential development on top of this toxic waste dump. Now, this became a major issue because people started getting cancer. And the really embarrassing thing for the government, for the companies that were involved, is that it played out over national news. So this was one of the first times that toxic pollution or toxic pollutants really got people outside of the area that it was affecting. Got people in all different areas, all different walks of life were affected by it. And that's because they saw it on TV. And this led to the Comprehensive Environmental Recovery, Compensation, and Liability Act, also known as CERCLA. Now, you don't have to know the entire term. You can call it CERCLA. It is also called the Superfund Act. So the Superfund Act, basically, what it is the company that is involved in a major pollutant, so a major polluter, pays money towards this fund, and then this fund takes care of cleaning up the area. Now, we have Superfund sites. I think we have 4 in New York City. 2 of them are nearby. One of them is the Newtown Creek, which is just up the street from me. Another one, there is a Meeker Plume, which is, just under the BQE. Then we have the Gowanus Canal. And if you've ever been over the Gowanus Canal, there you could just see oil sheens, and everything. The Newtown Creek is very polluted. It divides Greenpoint and Long Island City, and it extends down almost down to Bushwick. But there are areas that there was so much industrialization occurring there, so much manufacturing facilities existed there. There was a lot of pollutants added to the waterway. And also, to make matters worse, in 1950, just at the end of my block, there was a huge giant explosion, and it released slowly over the next 50 years, released 17 to 30 million gallons of oil underneath the surface. And that is still polluting everything around us. If you live in North Brooklyn, you should never, ever, 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 ever eat any berries off of trees. You should never eat any foods that have grown, any vegetables that have grown in the ground. If you ever see a mulberry tree, mulberries are delicious. Do not ever eat them in North Brooklyn. The ground is so toxic. There's also the RCRA, which is the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act. And this basically is an act to prevent toxic waste from accumulating. And basically, it does a cradle-to-grave analysis. So when you're looking at your cell phones, when you're looking at any electronical devices, when you're looking at any sort of manufacturing facility, it analyzes the environmental risks from the start of the process to the end and disposal of any materials from the process. It deals especially with hazardous waste disposal, trying to conserve resources so we don't actually have to manufacture toxic or use toxic materials or toxic byproducts in the manufacturing of merchandise. And it tries to reduce waste. And that includes waste management, recycling when we can, and finding safe ways to dispose of items. So what I would like you to do is respond to this check for understanding. And for our FRQ practice, I want you to explain how amphibians can be indicator species for the presence of heavy metals. I hope that this video is informative. I thank you for your attention, and I will see you soon.